We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. Steve and Jill here.
Hello.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Stephen Jack Butella.
And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun.
Today we have Karl and Sam from, I think, central Western Chicago or Illinois.
Please correct us. Please say
we don't like to associate with the city of Chicago very often.
Okay.
But we are the first rural community south of Chicago. So there's, Chicago that everyone knows, the north side of Chicago, if you're not familiar with it, and the downtown area are really, beautiful places to be. The south side of Chicago is a little bit, that's kind of where you hear a lot of those statistics from.
And we're further than that.
And we live in a farm community, but I could be downtown Chicago in about 40 minutes from where we're at. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Karl and Sam Lathus, and we wanted to have you guys on the show because you're pretty active in Jill's clubhouse event every other week that she does at 1 o'clock Pacific time, I guess, and then really active on the Thursday call. You're active in the community and you're career path alumni with some pretty apparent success. So,
well, Sam already quit her job.
Yeah.
He did.
So we wanted
That didn't take long.
Wanted to have you on, and so maybe you can share some of the reasons that you think you're having this success, maybe a little bit of your background, because it's very helpful for existing members and potentially new members to hear about real world success. So what's the key? Share it with us, please.
So I guess I'll go first. So before land, I worked 10 years in the corporate office doing accounting. It was a 40-hour-a-week thing. And then on the side, I was helping Karl with his 2 businesses. While doing all of that, I was also trying to raise 2 small kids. And so there was a lot of time and a lot of pressure. And every time I had a breaking moment, I'd go and complain to Karl. And he said, it doesn't have to be this way, that, we can be land investors and you can free up your time. And at first I thought he was just being crazy because that's kind of how he is. And then after about a year of just whispering that to me, I finally was like, all right, let's do this. And we took career path. And once I saw the writing on the wall with career path, I'm like, I need to quit my job like now. And so we figured out a good time where it was going to work, and I quit, and now we are full-time land. And
didn't you put your notice in before we even finished career path?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So
yeah, I gave him like a
That's
2-month
awesome.
a 2-month notice because I didn't want to burn any bridges. But
so we started this thing, right? We weren't even really super familiar with Land Academy. We just started to understand what was going on, and we became aware of career path. And then by the time we joined up for it, and by the time career path was over, Samantha already quit her career as a CPA at a large chemical company. So, and that's not to say that we just have crazy success. Really what that says is that what we noticed and what we saw was the writing on the wall. We proved the concept to ourselves.
Yep.
And that's really what we needed. I've been in business for almost 10 years now. And I know how businesses work, and through career path and stuff, you kind of break down essentially the business, and you break it down a lot of, here's the steps, there's not that many. I can tell you there's a lot more steps to running a construction company than there are to running a land company. Yeah. And, as we saw that, and we were able to prove the concept to ourselves, and, utilize a lot of her strengths as a CPA when it comes to data analysis and stuff. It was, to us, it's just like, we realized pretty quickly that this is the path that we want to move forward with.
What Sam, I know you're more like me, more technical, and these two are a little bit different, but what is it about career path that pushed you over the edge?
I think just I think it was the first or second class where we were seeing an equity schedule of how little needs to be done in order to make a certain amount of revenue. And I was like, wow, that would take me 3 months to make what I'm making at my current job. Yeah. And, it's not as much, it is effort. I mean, I still work 25, 30 hours a week at land, but it's not the same pressure of like, you're working so hard to make somebody else money. You're working hard to make yourself that type of money. And the hours are just so flexible. It just, after listening to all that, I was like, wow, like, okay, let's continue doing this. And yeah, it just works. It's great.
So interesting. Jill and I have we've had Land Academy for what, 7 or 8 years now. And there's always 1 or 2 things that push specific people over the edge, or on the other side, 1 or 2 things that people say, there's no way I'm going to,
Yeah, it's true.
I can't do that, or I don't want to do that at all. And so, but I've never heard anyone say equity. That's great.
Yeah, like it just made sense. Like how you were showing just like such a basic example of like, you were just dumbing it down because you can do that. And it made so much sense. It was like a light bulb moment. So yeah, I'm a numbers person though. I like to see number examples and, you know, seeing how, even if they're just basic, seeing how they like play out over time. It makes me feel more comfortable dealing with numbers.
So it's been a few months since you guys became, you know, what you were done with Career Path. Have you done a bunch of deals, a few deals? Is it working out how you wanted?
Yeah, so our main goal right now is to build a pipeline. And so I left my job in like July. And so that's when we kind of hit the ground running. We've been sending out mail weekly. We've been getting responses weekly. And I feel like we are setting ourselves up to be very successful next year, which is kind of how we anticipated this business going. I mean, we have sold some properties and obviously we're buying properties, but our main goal is just this is a building year, a learning year. And then next year, we're just going to continue to build on that and have things in place and then just explode with it.
That's a great plan.
I love it.
That stuff doesn't happen overnight. You guys are very realistic.
That's what we've learned. And that was kind of, I guess, what we were kind of discussing amongst ourselves was that, you know, sometimes, you know, the speed of investing, I think, needs to be taken into focus, right? Mm-hmm. And I've bought houses, foreclosures, rehab them, you know, closed on them through the process of buying them, which is, you know, a nightmare in itself, rehab them, which is a crazy nightmare, and then listed them for sale with an agent. Oh, by the way, I bought it off the MLS to begin with from an agent, right? And that process right there, you know, think about how many, you know, those are my first couple flips and stuff, you know, but think about how long that process takes. And then, you know, and I think that we get numb to that in the land, especially once you build a pipeline, because you're always having something closed once your pipeline's built, right? But at first it was kind of frustrating. And I know that this is a voice of some other people, you know, that I've spoken to, is just like, hey, you know, like I want to buy this property and I want to have that money now. And it does feel that way after you get your pipeline built, but the speed of investing is slow. And this is the fastest speed to go put your money anywhere else and get your money back as quickly and as much money as you do in land. You're not going to find it, right? But when you go to flip a house, yeah, that's a quick way to make some cash. That's a quick, 90 days if you're the best contractor I know, you know, and it's not even 90 days is unrealistic. And so, I mean, you could completely have your money back, but I do see that you have to build your pipeline if you want to have consistent cash flow. And that's what we've continually harped on. And it does take a little bit of time, not as much time as anything else.
Jill and I came off of a 2-month RV trip, and one of the stops that we made was my hometown in Michigan. And we met with a bunch of my high school friends and found out where everybody was and what happened in their life. We're at this age now where most or all of our kids are out of the house. And so we can really kind of have a good, hey, what happened in your life, past tense kind of conversation. And one of my friends is now, he inherited a pretty thriving manufacturing company from his parents, and took it to a whole new level and then sold it all. And so he's now just an angel investor, and he was asking us about deal funding and how we do it. And Jill said, well, we fund a deal for somebody that they bring the deal to us. A lot of people bring deals to us. We choose the best ones. We fund the deal. If everything goes great, in about 30 days, we double our money or close to it. At least we get a 50% return on it, and then go replace the money. And his, this is a guy that's ridiculous wealth accumulated. and his jaw's on a table, because he angel invests in 20 or with tons of money in 20 or 30 or 40 companies at any given time. 39 of them fail. The one that makes it either goes public and he gets a great return, and his cycle's like 10 years. And so I totally agree with you. And we've done deals, we've turned deals
Really fast. Too
like
fast.
2 weeks.
Too
In
fast.
2
So,
weeks,
like,
whether we just
We had
purchased the
that.
deals,
it listed on Friday and it's sold on Monday. And I'm like, whoops.
and it's 2 weeks since we bought it, and we never saw it. And
Yeah.
so I'm not explaining this to you guys. I'm just telling the story to the benefit of listeners, because that's why you're here. You know that that's
Mhm.
possible.
Well, and a lot of that came up is because we own a rental portfolio as well. And kind of the general rule of thumb with a lot of people is you're going to get your investment back in 5 years if you're good at what you do. And I'm at the point now where I went through a big buying spurt, and I'm at the point now where each one of those investments are essentially being paid back in my mind as full, which is really, just all a paper game. But, it's 5 years to even get the money back that you put into,
Right.
an apartment building for the most part. That's how those deals would be structured a lot of times. And, when's the last time you had to wait 5 deals to get paid in land? 5 years to get paid in land, it doesn't happen.
Exactly. Isn't it great? It's a little bit, it's like putting the needle in your arm. You're like, well, now why am I doing that?
Yeah.
And think about how, I'm sure you guys are having those conversations. Like, think about how much money we've got tied up over here, what we could be doing with it over there, kind of thing.
That's a daily conversation.
How fast can we get out? So yeah, we've done that. That's one of the nice things too. I like to, share with the planet is been there, done that.
Yeah.
I've worked really hard on renovations and, come home like a sooty mess, because you're around construction and everything and dust and dirt, all for $45,000. Big whoop.
Right?
Jill and I did 2 full renovations, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
Move
it was,
walls.
and we'd made money. In fact, we ended up the second one, we never sold it. It was a buy for 80,000, clean it up for 20,000. It's worth $500,000 now. So, and it's been rented for many, 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 many years. So, it's not like we're complaining about the money. It's just, I hated it. And so did she.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have a stomach for that stuff too, by the way.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know what's coming. It's really, really true. HGTV, we talk, this is our daily conversation. We're like, oh, HGTV makes it looks all dreamy, but
Yeah.
it's not really like that.
Boy, that's a show. I mean, I don't mean an episode on this silly podcast. I mean, a whole full-blown show about how fake HGTV is just fake news.
Yeah.
People tell me that people tell me how much fun it would be to do, I'm rehabbing an apartment and, and like, it is work.
Yeah.
Oh, I love demos. Oh yeah. You want to pick up a hammer and come demo this? Let's do that. You love demo. You love swinging the hammer in front of the cameras, but you know how much work that actually really is. Most people can't handle it.
Totally.
Demo's a blast until you demo something and find out there's black mold in there or whatever.
That too.
Once you demo it, you find out what's really going on, and
Mhm.
Absolutely.
then your budget changes, and then eventually you stop having a budget and they just want to get the project done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not in control, and that's another thing when it comes to land, right? Because you're in control of everything. If you're flipping a house and you're not a contractor, I am luckily, when that budget's blown and that contractor doesn't care. You can control everything when it comes to land, I know you've been kind of speaking a little bit about doing enhancements and things, but I mean, a driveway is never going to blow a budget by $20,000. If that's what you end up doing, putting a culvert in is going to be pretty standard. You can kind of control the ship a little bit, but if you pay an electrician to go to a house and, replace an outlet, and before you know it, you're replacing the panel, that's a huge cost variation, and that's not going to happen in the land world.
Do you think that this sung to you so much because of that prior life experience that you're like, wow, I didn't know we didn't have to work this hard? I mean, how much of that do you think attributes to this? Because you get it. Obviously, you guys quickly got it. You understood. It made sense to you. Still, so many people don't understand the one little piece of, wait a minute, you buy a piece of dirt, you do nothing to it, and you sell it for more. Like, yep, And they're like, how is that possible? But you guys got it. Do you have
Yeah.
like any idea why it just made sense to you?
I guess like from like the data perspective, like I understood where the data was coming from. I understood how to send out the offers. And so it kind of made sense, like, well, yeah, that's what you're offering these people. And I started seeing like common situations that were happening. Like these people inherited it. They really don't want it, and they really don't care how much it's actually worth. They just want it off their plate, and they know they have a weird title situation with so many people on it, or or some people are just desperately in need of the money, and they see this as like, well, in 4 weeks or 3 weeks I can get my money. And it's like, yes. And they're like, okay, sign me up, let's do this. And so once you start understanding how the data works and how there's a need for it, you're helping these people out, then it kind of makes sense that, yeah, you're just getting it to them as fast as possible. And they don't care what you do with it afterwards. If it takes you a month to sell or 3 months to sell, they don't care. They already have their money and they're happy and moving on with their life.
I told Samantha when we first started this, because I have experience answering phones. I have experience with all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of prepared for what the hate is. And actually, we love the hate. We laugh, so much fun. We're still answering 100% of our phone calls. And I told her, when it kind of started, it's like, hey, and I've been doing this for years, and I've thought this for years, is you ever see Bill Murray's Groundhog's Day? All right. So every time you answer that phone, that there's going to be one of so many characters they're going to call you. There's that happy guy who wants to talk to you, the old guy who hasn't talked to anybody, and talk. You could name, Jill, I'm sure you could actually write them down. You could probably narrow it down to 10 characters, right? So now it's Groundhog Day. So this character beat me last time I talked to him. How am I going to approach this guy so at the end of the day it ends up with me owning the property, right? So it's Groundhog's Day. You get practice. Every time they call us, the first time they're calling, either yell at you about your mail or what. It's the first. They think they're original, right? The thing is, 10 other people just call me the same thing. And maybe the first 2 guys kind of shook me, but you're not going to shake me after a while. And so it's Groundhog's Day. Practice. We get practice every time, and no one out there is original. I have yet to find an original person. They are in their own little ways, but like every one of them, you can put them in buckets, right? And there's always, and after a while, it's like, well, don't yell at that kind of guy.
That's hilarious. It's almost like I want to have little flashcards. Like the call comes in, I can hold it up like,
yeah,
it's inherited.
Three
I don't know
answers,
what to do. Wife just found husband's folder. I got that one.
We found a county, we called it, I forgot even where it was. It was like everyone who called was like super nice, right? But they were very backhand. We call it the backhanded, like they're backhanded nice. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, never call me again and say something terrible to you and hang up. You had a great conversation for like 3 minutes and then all of a sudden they just change on you and hang up. And it was like, it was one specific county where we got that same call. I was like, wow, we got to figure out how to beat that.
Exactly. Isn't that true? It's really funny. That's like too, when we send out mailers, sometimes I'm like, I want to be involved in the first wave because I learn a lot about them. Like, not just, they're the sweetest people when they're telling you to bite me, kind of thing. or like, they're really smart. Like, oh, these people know what's going on, like they inform me of what's going on. Even like there's a new plant or something over here being built that I didn't even pick up on. That's why days on market are so low. We got to change our approach here, kind of thing.
We have an extra layer of hate in the world right now because of the political climate and COVID and all that stuff. So it's an interesting, you got to dial up your game a couple notches. I call it putting your thick skin suit on.
Yeah.
And then you buy some property. That's the whole thing.
It's all a game. In the end, it results that the grand prize is land, right? So it's a game.
But I love what Sam says. In the end of the day, and I feel like this too, you really are helping people. And you know what? I'm not here to talk anybody out of anything. It's like, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I wish you all the best. I'm going to answer the next phone call.
We got a thank you card in the mail, and it's like, crazy, right? You know, thank you from the whole family didn't talk, and they all signed a card for us and said, thank you for helping us through this, because, you know, grandma had owned it, passed it down to all these people, and they don't talk, and we, you know, coordinated things and got it done, and they all, you know, had money in their pocket and they were happy. That deal was we tripled our money on that deal.
There you
So
go.
I just was going through Discord, putting together questions for the other podcast episodes that we're going to record today. And I found an entry in there with you guys about how you got a call from the same person 4 times. And she didn't, you know, remember that she called you the prior 3 times.
I think I felt bad for the lady. The second call, I was like, maybe she's just pranking me. And then after the third one, I was like, she really has no idea. And it was like triple landlocked. It was like in a flood zone. It wasn't anything we were like going to pursue in the first place. And it was only 1 acre. It wasn't even like you could hunt it. Like there was no value to this property. And she just kept calling back. She called like 4 or 5 times. And by the end of it, I was like, okay, we already spoke. We need to like not call again.
We need to call someone who can take care of you.
I was like,
I'm almost like going, I need your daughter's phone number because we need to have a
You know,
memory
yeah,
care
I was like,
conversation
nervous
about
for
mom.
her. Like, what
So
are
that
you
was the response in Discord. That's what people
Oh,
said,
yeah.
like, you know, all right, so now we need to
She's not taking care of,
find the child.
not handling her own medication, is
Yeah.
she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You feel like that sometimes. Yeah, you get to know these people, which it's really kind of sweet. I'm sure you've probably had it. Not you will. When are you going to be in town? Because we want to have you over for dinner calls. I think those are the
Mhm.
sweetest. Like, aw.
So speaking of daily conversations, what is it like to work with your spouse?
Yes, that's good.
That's not bad. We do have 2 separate offices.
Not bad.
You guys are still young.
Well,
We essentially have 2 separate offices, and there's like a window. So I built the offices. We have a separate building even on our property that we because I run a construction company that's dedicated to the construction company and our offices. And there's a window in between of them. It almost kind of looks like a drive-through. I put a bell there so I can ring it, and she slams that window shut when she's mad, and that's it.
That's awesome. I'm like, Sam's gonna install her own blinds that just come down really fast.
And I haven't seen that bell in a long time. So.
No, actually, you know those metal shutters when you travel on your, you know,
Yeah.
you put well, maybe like in Florida they have them. We'll put those on the inside.
Do you have to replace the window yet?
That's good.
Not yet.
Just not boarded up.
Yeah. That's a whole nother layer to this. You know, it's so cute. I'm sure you guys heard this too. People go, wow, you guys can work together. That sounds so dreamy and so romantic and like I want.
Romantic?
Yeah, well, like I know a lot of people have come to us and said, God, I wish my wife got this like you do, and I really would love to do this with her. And I'm like, hold on a moment. It's harder than it looks.
We just have a lot of rules, and most of the time it works. And it took us years and years and years to have rules about when we should be talking to each other and about where to work and what's okay to talk about and when. And for the most part, I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. There's different processes that we have in place that kind of help us communicate without communicating. So we have like bins in his office for the construction and real estate rentals. And so whenever he wants me to do something, he just puts it in my bin. And he doesn't tell me to go check my bin. He doesn't tell me that it's like due at any time. But I know that means he wants me to do something with that piece of paper. So communicating without communicating, it works out good.
It definitely does.
Yeah, we have Airtable for that. Same thing. We put notes in there and it pops up, notifications pop up, but you have to play those games. They're not games, they're systems, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Systems for sure.
Yeah.
Systems are, and I think that's kind of a lot of that too. Is systems are important, right? And you know, kind of knowing your lane, you know, and not because like I'll step into somebody's lane, but to help her, so her, you know, so like, but I understand that like, hey, she's going to be doing this, that, and this, and if I know that she, you know, like, so like I understand my lane, I stay in my lane, but you know, we help each other often. You know, if she sees it looks like, hey, he's overwhelmed, she'll take things up, but like knowing your lane and staying in your lane as often as possible is pretty important, I believe. I used to try and issue checks. I used to, try and pay the bills and stuff like that. And after a while, Samantha was like, don't
touch
Yeah.
it.
do that,
Exactly. It's like the last time, like you can't work on the same deal. That was one of our rules too. We had to figure out. He's like,
That's a
I
good
think
rule.
I'm helping you. I called the guy back. I'm like, thanks. You just undid everything I did. And now we're paying more money for that property.
So, I mean, you have to realize, and the only way to do this is to fail at it over and over again, and then try to improve it. And once you realize that the person that's your partner is better at something than you are, and vice versa, like, I don't think that all spouses can work together. I think that, I really think that if you have a spouse that's has the exact same skill set that you do, that's going to be tough.
Oh, that's true.
Or if you have a spouse that sucks at everything, they don't want to do anything at all. They just don't have the same spirit that you do to try to move forward in the world. That's not going to work either. And I think that describes the vast majority of people. So, but if you're lucky enough to, and with this was not intentional. Like, I found all this stuff out about you long after we met.
Good. So you weren't dating me to get me into the business.
No.
Okay, good.
That was the last thing from my mind.
Okay, good.
But I found, Jill's just much, much better on the phone and better with people. And I'm better with all the technical math stuff. And it's just, so I don't want to discourage people from working with your spouse, but I do think it's the exception, not the rule.
I agree.
Well, we kind of planned, it wasn't really an accident with us. We started dating when we were 13. So we kind of planned out the CPA thing.
I'll do the finance stuff. I can handle that. I took all the courses that I needed to.
Did my homework for me and stuff. So
Perfect. That really is important. One of you has to be able to do math.
yeah,
At least one.
Volunteer.
one of us is going to have to be articulate. It's not going to be me. So
Same here. Same here. Yeah. Anytime anybody asks me something about taxes or how we do this or do that, I'm like, are you kidding me? Don't even go there.
You know what? That's good too, because I need to manage all that.
I know. And I will not fight you on any of that. Oh, it's really good. Well, before we wrap up, do you have anything you want to pick our brains on? Now that we got to know you guys a little bit better here.
I mean, not in particular. I didn't think about that. I guess I probably should have, but we're no, not in particular, actually. We're interested. I'm sure you can attest to this, and obviously everyone's aware, but we're going through some sort of market cycle, right? And we're very excited about that, only because of the fact that we're younger. This is going to be our very first real estate cycle, and it's so interesting to see how it's visible. I mean, you could graph it, right? And it's just interesting to see, and I've met a lot of successful people in my life, and someone I really look up to, he owns a pretty large company, and he's on the Chicago Board of Trade. He trades stocks, and I asked him, Ed, when are you going to retire? And this guy's beyond wealthy. He said, I'm just waiting for one more cycle, man, because it is the most fun you could ever have in business. He's not out for the money. He's out for the thrill of it. He's one of those guys. And he told me that right when I started my company about 10 years ago, and right now I'm just thinking, I bet you Ed's having a great time right now. And I want to understand cycles like he has. He's older. He's seen them. He knows how to navigate the waters, and he's excited about it. And I'm excited to start to understand and learn a full real estate cycle finally.
This is cool. I'm glad you're excited.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Hey, do you have any, the cycle is going to be a blast, by the way. It's always so much fun.
Buy a bunch
There's
of stuff.
Right.
Just buy as much as you can, as cheap as you can.
Well,
and then figure out what to do with it later, as long as it's okay property. And that goes for, I don't think it's going to hit houses like it did last time that bad, but I think it's going to be a lot longer than we think. I think it's going to go into 24 at least. And so next year, I think it's going to be acquisition frenzy. And if you can't, and I'm sure you will, work out the sell side marketing speed thing, with a real estate agent or however you decide to do it, you're going to turn some serious property and probably end up funding other people's deals if you're into that. So it sounds like
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's kind of our plan is to, we were kind of retooling a little bit this year as we're moving forward, and anticipation that, but we're not, honestly, we start getting really on the sell side for a minute there. And then we said, hey, let's pull it back a little bit. We have the ability and, the understanding of how to move forward without having to sell those properties to purchase our next, and so, whether it be through deal funding or through, our own capital, we want to keep moving forward. And I think buying as much as possible right now and worrying about selling later is definitely kind of at the forefront of our thought process.
Hey, it's great having you guys on. Do you have any advice for new people before we leave?
Just be patient with the process at first.
Patience.
Yeah.
I think it's fast moving, but I think that people get blinded by the idea that there is no such thing as an overnight success, right? People see a final product, right? And if you need to learn how to do your data, and that's going to take you a little bit of time. If you need to set up your systems, that's going to take you a little bit of time, patience, and build it strong and, organically, because I think patience is something that people lack. And I do myself. I do myself. I'm the least patient person ever. So, I'm the pot calling the kettle black.
This is probably where I think Sam and I are more alike and you two are more alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the most patient person there ever was.
Nope. Not at all.
Hey, thanks for being on, guys. It's great to speak with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's great speaking with you,
Good to
too.
speak with you guys.
We'll catch up with you in a
you.
few months and see where you are then. It'd be fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Thank you. Happy you could join us today. 5 days a week. You can find us here on the Land Academy Show. I wanted to say you are not alone.
That's it.
Oh, you are not alone in your real estate
Oh.
ambition. We hope you found our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.